Briefly, I want to thank all of you here. I see a lot of familiar faces. This is an awesome crowd. Good morning, conservative Maryland. It's good to see you. On the last two issues, and just to create a segue, the Speaker of the House, who I also ran against in my district, District 30 here in Annapolis, was asked why Maryland didn't go the way of the rest of the country, and he said, well, the national mood has nothing to do with Maryland. 2 days later, another reporter asked him how come in his own race, Delegate Ron George topped him by 1,600 votes, and they also brought in another conservative Republican, Herb McMillan, and defeated Virginia Claggett. And he said, well, it was the national mood. So, just to note, it was awesome to be following Sheriff Jenkins. As you know, I led the fight. We won thanks to your help. I see a lot of familiar faces on stopping the awarding of licenses to illegal immigrants in this state. The way to win it was to allow the Judiciary Committee to gut the bill, but they didn't know that I had spoken in Dundalk a few times, and I had gotten Senator Norman Stone, the third highest ranking Democrat in the Senate side, to cross-file my bill. And so it had to come, it passed over there and had to come to conference committee. Passed over to thanks to Senator Harris's help too, to conference committee, and we got it back to what it should be. So there has been a 40% drop in the license, in all applicants for licenses in Maryland, and we know where that comes from. I came in from Dr. Harris and I have been asked to speak today on the federal pressures on the state of Maryland and how can we respond. I assume that my role here is to speak mainly from the state level and have him speak maybe on the federal level. And just to put it in perspective, prior to 1900, federal aid bills were shot down as unconstitutional at the federal level. By 1960, there were 132 federal aid programs to the states. In 1985, there were 335. And by 2006, there were 814. Now, you know what's happened since 2006. In 1985, non-health programs received $140 billion of federal aid. In 2006, that number rose to $250 billion. Health programs in 1985 received $40 billion of federal aid. By 2006, that number increased from $40 billion to $230 billion. With Obamacare, you can guess where we're going. The number will jump again. Federal aid always comes with strings attached. It is the bribe that gets states to do what is decided at the federal level. When we take it, we give up states' rights, and we give up a local locus of control for our health care, our environment, our schools, our property. When the federal government takes over what are the state's responsibility, it becomes all about politics, and the process, as you know, is less efficient. We are like innocent children. Hansel and Gretel, if you will. We are lured with offers of candy gumdrops and we see no harm in taking it, not realizing that as we take it, we plump ourselves up to be eaten alive. Hansel and Gretel were even provided with work and a place to stay. To enforce the programs that the aid is paying for, there are rules or mandates. The federal government cannot enforce how the money is spent without telling all 50 states across the board what to do. This in itself is blatantly unconstitutional. Quote from the Constitution, the power is not delegated to the United States, meaning the federal government, by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, or reserved to the states respectively, or more specifically, to the people. The mandate to buy into the federal Obamacare health system charts dangerous waters. There is no constitutional basis for it. As cap and trade seeks to monetize the air we breathe, Obamacare seeks to monetize American citizenship itself. What can we do about it? Well, I'll start off a little in that direction, and then I'll turn it over to Senator Harris. First off, state legislators... Yeah, Congressman.
Next election.
You must have said it enough, because you really all said that. Congressman. I've known Andy for years. He's so state legislators should stall the implementation of any new federal mandates. The Obama Health Care Act, if forced upon us, will hurt the primary care physicians, for instance. I started a doctor's caucus this last year. For the first time in Maryland, we were able to pass assignment of benefits bills to help keep our physicians in Maryland. I'm well aware of their plight, as is Andy, and Maryland cannot afford to lose their physicians. Overall, there are now only 15,000 doctors practicing in Maryland. That number was already set to drop. I don't know if you realize, but more than 50% of our doctors are at or over retirement age. So the number was already set to drop, and Obamacare will kill access to care despite the propaganda claims simply because we will not have enough physicians. Secondly, we must push for more states to pass the Health Insurance Freedom of Choice Act. In Maryland, it is about to be introduced by lead sponsor Delegate Michael Schmiegel. It was put in a couple days ago. We now have a bill number, write it down, House Bill 15, the Health Insurance Freedom of Choice Act. Thirdly, and I'm also going to co-sponsor this with Delegate Schmiegel, is a House Joint Resolution. It now has a number. Write this down, HJ1. It's titled The Maryland Sovereignty under the 10th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. It demands that the federal government halt its practice of assuming powers and imposing mandates on the states of the United States for purposes not enumerated under the Constitution of the United States. We need your help in these three items, with letters, phone calls, and personal lobbying. And as always, and we were able to overturn the tech services bill because I had said this to everyone, do not lobby only your own representative. Okay? It irks me when I hear people say, go to your representative. No, the liberals go to everyone. Contact everyone. Find out what committee it's going to be on, contact everyone on that committee. Okay? Write as many people in both parties like the liberals do. And let me repeat those three items. Number one, we're going to ask our legislators in Maryland to stall on implementing any new federal mandates. Number two, I ask you to loudly support House Bill 15, the Health Insurance Freedom of Choice Act. Number three, show your strong support for HJ1, the joint resolution backing Maryland's sovereignty under the 10th Amendment.